Y'all ready? This Stripes Live early afternoon edition here on a UK-friendly Friday afternoon. Peter Pratt, the man, the myth, the legend, we are lucky enough to have him joining us today as the Marlins get ready for a doubleheader to kick off the second half. Very interesting situation, and we were talking about it before, where nobody's pitched in a week. And so the Marlins are going to really have everybody available, and it's finally, since basically Pablo hit Acuna, is the first time that we have the Marlins have everybody available. So it should be an interesting day to start out the second half today. And where I want to start this show today is obviously we're coming off the All-Star break. So I thought we might as well just kind of talk about what our overall impressions of the All-Star game was. And I think, Peter, I'm going to go to you first since you're a special guest. I don't know how much of the All-Star game or the home run derby you were able to see, but to me, that home run derby feels like the one event that never disappoints, right? It always comes through in sports. And so just your overall impressions from across the pond of what you saw.
Well, first off, great to be on the show, guys. So, great to join. It's been a great show this year. In terms of the home run derby, I'm a pro derby guy, always have been. It was the first baseball that I ever watched on TV years ago. I caught a home run derby. Mark McGwire was hitting bombs, and that was the first ever time I watched baseball. And Ethan, you're absolutely correct. It never disappoints. The drama is just insane. Just seeing these guys, just going bananas. The pitching coach, soft tossing these straight down the middle. It's just, that's a skill in itself, right? And you see how much that matters as well with these guys, like throwing it middle. It looks hard. Well, maybe it's harder than it looks, but awesome event. Listen, Pete Alonso, he's just a bat for hire now, right? He's just a derby specialist. That's all he does. He gets more money hitting bombs in derbies than he does playing every day. Wild.
It's crazy. No, It's crazy. And as a Gator, obviously it was great to see Pete do it again. And the thing that I really love about it is it's kind of created this home run derby villain almost of now guys might come to try and take Pete down, and I just think that's a great thing for the game. And shout out to Dave Joust, his pitcher for that event. It was mesmerizing watching him just throw cement mixer after cement mixer down the middle. So Isaac, I want to go to you here. Just your overall impressions of the home run derby, the All-Star game, just what we saw this past week.
Pete Alonso just might, screw around and win the next 15 derbies, honestly. He just has like that swing and the power component where I don't see him losing a derby. And you're right. People are going to try and maybe come in, maybe stand, maybe judge to try and dethrone the guy because it wasn't even close, man. There was no one that was going to go up against Pete Alonso in that derby and there was going to come out on top. And, he had like the ego juicing. He put the kid in crutches and he's just dancing and vibing. It was a fun derby to watch. And like you said, it never goes bad. I don't know if I like the 10-out format better than the timed rounds. Like, it's a little tough, because no one waits till the ball lands anymore. But it was definitely a fun derby to watch.
Kevin, were you kind of on this board of everybody was kind of pissed at Pete Alonso because he stole Trey Mancini's moment? Or were you just happy to see Trey Mancini? Obviously, that was the great story. Just survive, just beat cancer, kicked its ass. And now he's playing this year, and he got the chance to be in the home run derby and shine. And he looked great. Put together a great derby. So were you on that train of where you really wanted to see Mancini win and you were kind of pissed off at Pete?
I mean, it would have been nice to see him win, but Pete, man, he just
what a shot, right?
I don't think he must have hit a lot of home. He hit so many home runs.
74, I think, was the number.
Yeah, I was gonna say total. He hit a lot. He barely got most of the. They were mostly home runs.
Stan still has that record for 76, I think.
I don't know. Pete had like a couple of swing offs and in the one where he went up against Vlad. So I don't know what the number was there, but yeah, 74 is definitely up there. You were saying, Kev?
Yeah, no, I was just saying. I think it was pretty much all home runs from Pete. His the guy that was throwing to them, the pitcher. Now those were some nice throws, extremely accurate. You got to, out of those $1 million, you at least got to give him $1,000 or something. That guy really helped you out there. I mean, let's be honest. And yeah, with the Trey Mancini, it was really nice to see him back on the field. After the cancer and everything, it's just a good moment for baseball in general, just the whole world to see Mancini out here again, just hitting bombs and having a good time. He almost won. He beat. Did he beat? No. Did he beat Soto? Was it Soto who he beat or?
He beat Story and he beat Olsen in the first round, I think. Okay. Yeah, that was my pick.
Yeah. It was just a great moment for baseball to see this guy. That was awesome. Pete Alonso just hit bombs.
Noah, let's talk about the All-Star game. So obviously, I think really the one moment to me that stood out was Vlad Jr.'s home run. That was like the one big moment really from the game. So just, the All-Star game in general, the All-Star weekend, just seeing that event again after a year off from the All-Star game, it doesn't mean as much as it used to because, the league doesn't get home field advantage in the World Series anymore. But just curious, what you thought about this All-Star game.
I absolutely loved it. That moment with Vlad Jr. hitting the home run and having Tatis be mic'd up, talking to the broadcast at that moment and watching Tatis's reaction. It made my night watching Trevor come out, and he was shaky, but it's his first All-Star game. Who cares? I really did love it. Anyone who's saying that Pete Alonso, it should be anyone who had a problem with Pete Alonso dancing around while that kid was being helped off the field needs to just be quiet, because he's in the middle of a home run derby and he's trying to keep his head straight. And
I thought it was funny.
I honestly, no problem with it. I loved it the entire time.
It shows confidence. And the funny thing about the Vladdy home run is they're talking to Tatis, and they're talking about how good the food that his grandma makes, and then the Vladdy grandma's makes, and then just hits the bomb. So it was just a funny moment.
Yeah, that was a great call by Joe Buck too. Alex, Alex Carver now joining us. I don't know why I said Alex Carver. Last time we had two Alexes on. We don't have any this time. Alex, let's go to you about a new event to All-Star break weekend, because this is something that we can kind of get discussing here. Is the draft was on the All-Star break weekend for the first time, and the Marlins did really good. According to all the experts and stuff, a lot of people are really high on the Marlins draft. Obviously, the first round pick was Khalil Watson, and it seems like the Marlins scored a top 5 player in the draft here. And then Joe Mack was their second pick on night one. And that was another guy that, a lot of people thought the Marlins really scored on, a catcher, a high school catcher. Obviously, the Marlins need some catching help in this system. So as our prospect guy, just talk to me about what you liked about the Marlins draft.
Yeah, so really good overall, as usual, per DJ Svalek. He always does an amazing job in these things. That whole team is best in baseball. Can't get past that. Probably, I would say 1 or 2 picks in there that were maybe you would have got somebody else. But overall, can't argue. And the fact that Watson fell, they were not expecting that at all. How they ran it, I guess I was a little bit surprised about how much money they spent early on, because this is a team with a $10 million pool, and they spent $7 million on their first 3 players. So they kind of had to go budget late. But Svalek said himself that he was kind of planning for it that way, to go high school heavy first and then college late. So that's exactly what they did. I think they got a couple bargain signings in there that could be really, really good. I really like Monteverde as a guy that could be really good that they got later on. Another guy, if they can sign him, I don't know if they'll be able to, but Ivan Melendez from Texas, if they can sign him, that kid looks really good at third base. So yeah, man, overall really good. Some great stuff. Everything that I read on most of these kids is really positive. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think, we've gotten so used to the Marlins doing a really great job with senior college bats, because they find, 3 or 4 guys that they highlight as we're going to, pay big money to these guys. I mean, look what they did with Peyton Burdick. JD Orr is an example. Evan Edwards is a guy that they moved for John Curtis, but he was, another senior college bat that did well in this system. So a lot of these guys, like a Tanner Allen from Mississippi State, who I think was the SEC Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. That in the 4th round, to me, I don't know too much about what he projects as in the majors, but that sounds like a really good pick to me. 23 should be going up towards high A. pretty quickly. So some good picks there. Just Isaac, the overall draft strategy that you saw, where you go high school heavy early, the Marlins haven't gone high school heavy. I think since they took over, all of their first round picks have been college guys.
Well, this I guess compares to maybe 2018 where they got Connor Scott and Will Banfield from high school kids, but since then it's been college heavy all the way. Last year they went all 6 pitchers. Here they went bat first, and then the last 6 picks were all pitchers. But you see some sort of consistency with this draft team, and that's what you like. Every year, since the last 3 years at least, you get from the experts, John Heyman, everyone's saying Marlins did well, and it really has been the case. We'll see if it comes to fruition at the major league level, but it was another good draft, and that's what you want to hear.
I think the same thing we said about the 2019 draft was the Marlins saw a hole in their system with power and hitting, and they definitely attacked it. And they also attacked pitching depth in this draft. They went on a big run of pitchers towards the middle there. So, overall, I thought it was a nice draft, from just being able to get Khalil Watson. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about the draft. I didn't know a lot about the draft, but the people that I trust, are really excited about this guy. And I've heard Jazz comparisons and stuff. And, guys like Jose Ramirez, Lindor are some of the names that I've heard thrown out there as a ceiling. So certainly an exciting time. And it was a great all-star game. And it wrapped up, the first half, which is where I want to kind of pivot to now. And I told all of you to bring some first half awards, do a little homework for today's show. So, Peter, let's start. We're going to go around each award, and we're going to go around the room. So we'll start in the middle with Peter. Peter, your MVP in the first half for the Miami Marlins.
It's got to be a pitcher, right? It has to be. It's a real tough one because there's 3 studs, 3 aces. And if I'm honest, they've all been aces at different points as well in many ways. But my MVP, it has to be Trevor Rogers. It just has to be. So I'm just going to go Trevor. Just what a hero, what a stud.
Yeah, he's been great, and obviously was the Marlins representative in that All-Star game. Got an inning, got some traffic, but he did strike out JD Martinez, which was the highlight of all of that. So, Noah, I'll go to you here. Your MVP of the first half for the Marlins.
My MVP is Starling Marte.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Probably the best offensive player.
It doesn't need any explanation.
Yeah, nothing else needs to be said. Kevin, your MVP.
I actually also have Starling Marte as my MVP. Makes sense. Been consistent. Nothing much to say. He's been carrying the team.
We're definitely going to get to talking about Marte. Isaac, who did you have?
I was going to go with the pitcher as well, but for MVP, I saw the Cy Young Award is the next one. So for MVP, it's got to be Adam Duvall for me, actually, because there's been so many games where he single-handedly won the game for us. You remember that game in LA, Cubs series, he won 2 of those games for us, some home games as well. Without his bat, without his 60 RBIs, imagine what this offense is like. So I think the most valuable player on the team right now for the first half was Adam Duvall.
I actually like that because I was overall really happy with the Duvall signing for the Marlins. There were times where it looked really bleak, but to finish with 19 home runs and 62 RBIs in the first half, I'm not huge on. He should have been in the home run derby. That would have been great, but I'm not huge on RBI as a big stat anymore. But at the end of the day, he's a run producer, and he's probably the best run producer on the team. Him and Aguilar, both have 62 RBIs. So, Alex, your MVP. I'm curious to see where you go with this one.
Yeah, so interesting conversation, I guess. But I would probably agree with Pete and say that it's got to be a pitcher and go Trevor Rogers. But if I'm going position player, man, I'm going with the guy that leads the team in WRC plus.
I knew you were.
Garrett
okay,
Cooper.
Interesting.
Yeah, Garrett Cooper, 144 WRC plus. He's been hitting it every single game. He got a little cold early. Yeah, that's definitely true. But man, this guy turned it on. He's proving his worth to the team. He's proving that he belongs to stay here, because we're probably not going to get what we should get for him and how he's playing if we trade him at the deadline. So, yeah, I go Garrett Cooper as a position player, but overall it will be Trevor.
I'm going to go out here, and I'm going to say, sometimes we say most valuable player is just the best player, but what about Miguel Rojas? It seems like this team it seems like this team is just a different team when he's out there. And I don't remember, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but the record when the Marlins have Rojas and when they don't have Rojas, and just the way the team looks out there is a lot different. So, I heard all of your guys' answers, and I was just like, I'm going to say something different. So I'm going to go with Miguel Rojas, because that guy is just the leader of the team, and he's so valuable to this clubhouse, so important. And so for most valuable player, I think Miguel Rojas can have a good argument. So obviously, Cy Young, I think a lot of you guys are going to pick Trevor, but I'm interested to see if any of you go with Pablo or Sandy. So, Peter, you have Trevor as your MVP. So, do you also have him as your Cy Young Award winner?
I do not, actually, which seems crazy, but Pablo Lopez, for me, has, listen, he had a one-pitch outing against the Braves. I think a rough start against the Braves as well earlier in the year. Apart from that, listen, Pablo has been insane. He's been under the radar, and he's getting better. For me, Trevor's kind of plateaued a little bit. And he's not getting deep enough into games, Trevor, and he's starting to maybe the league's working him out a bit. Pablo, for me, is just continuing to get better. 9 Ks, 9 first batters. Absolutely insane, Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez, Cy Young.
He just can't get over that 9 strikeout hump for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. And here's the stat on Miguel Rojas: 31-32 this season with Miguel Rojas in the starting lineup, 8-18 when he is not. So that just kind of shows.
What's the stat with Mags in the lineup?
Not going there. So Noah, after that ridiculous comment, I want you to redeem yourself by I'm going to go to you. Sandy is your Cy Young
100%. Yeah, he's just been consistently good. He's been consistently good, aside for maybe 1 or 2 bad outings against the Dodgers. He's been consistently good. He's doing what we need him to do. He's going deep into games, and hopefully, I'm just throwing this out there. I think he's throwing a complete game today.
Yeah, 7 innings. He's gone 8 innings. It seems like his last few starts. So I gotta look that up. But
second game too.
Wouldn't that be something? Isaac, your Cy Young Award winner for the year so far.
100% for me, Sandy Alcantara. I think he's providing length. I think he's providing, everything this team needs in the rotation. He's that ace. I know Trevor Rogers has been spectacular statistically wise, but Sandy is the Cy Young of the team.
Alex, your Cy Young Award winner so far in the first half.
Yeah, Isaac just mentioned it. I have to go statistical. I'm sorry, and I have to say that it's Trevor Rogers, but not just because of that, but because of how far this guy came so quickly. He has a 3.8 WAR. Look at the guys that are in front of him. I'll tell you: DeGrom, Wheeler, Rodon, Guzman, Eovaldi, Woodruff, and Garrett Cole. Those are the only players in Major League Baseball that are better than Trevor Rogers in pitcher WAR. So, gotta go Trevor.
Kevin, your Cy Young Award winner.
I'm going Trevor as well. I mean, this guy was an all-star. This guy's been a stud. I think we all expect Marlins wins when Trevor's on the mound. I think we expect it with all three of these pitchers, but Trevor's just been maybe one of the most consistent. I would say he's only had 2 bad games. Sandy's had a lot of not a lot, but a lot more bad games than Trevor and Pablo as well. They've all had their rough starts, and they've had their it's been a little bit more rough when it comes to Sandy and Pablo when they're pitching on the mound. And Trevor's just been pretty consistent throughout the whole season. And then Alex brings in this statistic. He's one of the best pitchers in the game behind Garrett Cole and Nathan Eovaldi, all these guys. Just makes sense to put Trevor as the Cy Young winner.
Well, Trevor, is obviously the leader for Rookie of the Year right now, I would think, in the National League. And it's going to be tough for people to catch him. I think, he has, like Peter mentioned earlier, kind of plateaued and maybe fallen off a little bit, but I expect him to come back around. And, a hot topic in the second half will be the innings that these pitchers go and how much these pitchers, the Marlins let these guys go. But for the Cy Young, I'm going to go kind of in that most valuable way again, and I'm going to go with Sandy because he's just been the ace. He gives them everything they need. When they need 8 innings, he goes 8 innings. He's the guy that's gone 8 innings the most times. I love the way that he's so effective in multiple ways. He can throw his Maddoxes and then he can ring up 10, and his numbers aren't the best on the staff. Trevor's are the best probably, and Pablo is actually right there after him. But I just love Sandy, and he's really taken that leadership role head on and been great with it. So, all right, Nick, let's go to our next award, which is going to be your most surprising player of the first half, the guy that caught you by surprise the most. Peter, I'm going to go to you.
I think there could only be one, can't there? Tony Bender. Can there own?
Yeah.
Is that the most surprising guy? I mean,
totally forgot about him.
It has to be.
Mhm.
I mean, fish across the pond legend as well. So absolutely, Anthony Bender.
Noah, so you forgot about Anthony Bender, but who did you go with?
I went with Garrett Cooper.
Okay. Yeah.
And just I want to interject these. I added 2 categories of my own.
Okay, put these in. Yeah.
Most improved, Jorge Alfaro.
Ooh. Well, at one point.
Are you watching the same season as us?
At one point.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
At one point, maybe, but not recently.
This is my most disappointing.
Dodgers series.
Not of late. He hasn't been. He hasn't been. His. I looked at his numbers, and they're actually worse than I thought. But he's found it at times. And then your rookie of the year. Your rookie of the year. You told me you had.
Who else? It's
Trevor Rogers. Yeah.
I felt like I had to say Trevor because I had him. I had Sandy as Cy Young and Marte as MVP. I had to put Trevor in there somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's totally reasonable, and he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year in the National League at this point. So, I'm going to keep saying that and keep jinxing him. So, Kevin, your most surprising player of the year so far?
Yeah, I was going to put Bender, but then I think we all expected Bender to be good. I mean, he's been great right now, but we did expect, for him to be good. He has been really surprising, though. I went with Poteet. I don't think we all expected Poteet to be as good as he is right now. I was between Poteet and Zach Thompson. I think we all expected these guys to not be good and get DFA'd right away, like a lot of these guys who made their major league debuts. It's been the trend, but these guys have just managed a way to stick on the roster and be consistent. But Poteet was my choice because even though he does have the injury, he's been very, very good, but it's just Poteet. There's not much more to say. This guy's been consistent. Yeah. He's found a way to stay on this roster and stay on that rotation, and it puts all these other guys like the 3-headed monster. I think it gives them nerves that maybe they might lose the spot. They're not going to lose it. Obviously, they're not. Not saying they will, but trade deadline's coming up. The Marlins are most likely going to sell. They're not going to sell Sandy and Trevor, but I don't know why I think the Marlins might do it with Pablo. I don't think they will, but it's just always been something in my head. But when it comes to these guys that we're seing like Poteet and Zach Thompson, these guys are finding a way to stick on the 5-man rotation, and they're making a name for themselves. These guys in the minor leagues might have something to play for when it comes to coming up in the 5-man rotation.
I don't think that what Poteet and Thompson have done for this staff can be overstated in terms of just saving the 3 arms and how important it's been for saving the bullpen. It feels like everything has kind of calmed down since the 2 of them came into the rotation. And just an update while we're talking about Poteet, he threw a bullpen recently, and he's going to keep throwing on his progression. So he's working his way back from, I think he's dealing with a knee injury. It's either knee or ankle. I think it's in the lower leg. But Alex, your most surprising Marlin so far in the first half?
Yeah, he got mine. I was definitely going to go with Bender. I think Eli probably would have as well, judging by his ribbon at the bottom. But anyways, Anthony Bender would have been mine. Since Pete got it, I'll give you another one out of the bullpen as well. Richard Blyer. After the last game before the break, he had 23 of 27 of his last 27 outs, I should say, were ground ball outs. The guy just gets outs, and he had a shitty spring training. His spring training was not good. Beginning of the season, not really that good either. I guess you could say that for the whole pen. But he just came back, man. He's clearly found it. It's just quick ground ball out after ground ball out after ground ball out, and he's saving innings. He's saving the pen. Man, Flyer's been good, man, and I was not high on him coming out of spring training. So I'm glad I'm wrong.
It kind of seemed like his season kind of flipped on its head when he came in with the bases loaded and struck out 3 guys. You were like, where the fuck did that come from? Yeah. And it was just awesome to see. So I think kind of since then he's been really great. Isaac, your most surprising Marlin so far?
Obviously there could be a few of them. I think it says a good thing about the front office where there's so many options for most surprising player. I think that's a really good sign. Could have been Thompson, could have been Poteet. I'm gonna go with, I know he went already, but I'm gonna go with Bender. It's just phenomenal. The best arm out of the bullpen by far. He was playing independent league not too long ago, and I think he's by far the most surprising. But like I said, it could have been Poteet, it could have been Thompson, it could have been Blyer, and that's just a good sign when you have so many players with low expectations and they end up developing, really well.
Well, I think Bender's a great choice. Obviously, if you go before the year, but kind of once I saw this guy in spring training, everybody was like, where is this guy, right out of the gate. And obviously they kind of figured out the roster to bring him up once, the Paul Campbell thing happened, which, boy, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. But Anthony Bender, you see him in spring training and you're just like, well, if this guy can keep this stuff up, like he can be great. Didn't allow a run in spring training, and then he hadn't allowed a run. It was like the 6th longest streak in MLB history to start a career or something. So that's a good one, but I'm going to go with Cooper because this is a guy that I have been so undecided about for his entire career with the Marlins. I just never really knew, and then he gets off to this really bad start, and I was on here a lot criticizing Garrett Cooper. His effort looked poor, and he just didn't look like his head was in the game, and maybe the DH thing was getting to him or whatever.
You still criticize him.
For the last month or so, he's been one of the best hitters in the game. And for the last week heading into the All-Star break, he was the hottest player on the planet. And his numbers are, he has a 144 weighted runs created plus. Like, his numbers are elite. They're fantastic numbers. And so, yeah, he's been fantastic. So, all right, the last
Paul Campbell, since you brought it up, Ethan, and because Pete is here, me and Pete were actually recording his podcast when that news dropped. And if you listen back to it, we both just stopped talking for 5 seconds. We're like, what the hell is happening? That was pretty funny.
That was a crazy thing when that happened, when, the Paul Campbell news comes out that he's been, suspended for PEDs or whatever. It was kind of crazy. Pete, I see you laughing over there. What, you remembering that?
It's just a wild situation, isn't it? To think Paul Campbell suspended for PEDs. It's never to be written before or ever again. Crazy.
All right, the last thing I'm going to go to here for the first half awards is just let's go with the most disappointing player. So the guy that you had some high expectations for and has really let you down. I think I imagine there's going to be a popular choice in here, but I'm curious what everybody's going to say, because just like we did with most surprising, I think we can go a lot of ways. So Pete, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, this was 100% in my mind. This one, the hype video closer that wasn't the closer after 2 weeks, giving up bombs. Just Anthony Bass has been absolutely terrible. He truly has. So. Yeah, Anthony Bass nailed on for me. Most disappointing. And listen, the Marlins really need that. They really, in the future, need to address the leverage, the closing spot.
Yeah,
it's Bender. It's Bender. Come on.
Well, you know what? Does anybody else have a different answer? Because I feel like everybody was going to kind of answer Bass or Yimmy, right? So does anybody have? Okay, who were you going to say? No, I'm curious.
Happens to be he just got recalled. Issan Diaz.
Oh boy, yeah. Yeah.
I had high hopes for him.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of us did. A lot of us were hopeful that maybe he could get it, going on track this year, and he just hasn't. But I guess since you just mentioned Issan, we'll go over why he's coming back. So there were some roster moves made before the game. Jesus Sanchez goes on the COVID-related IL. That we don't know what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean that he tested positive. The Marlins don't have to disclose a reason for that. So we've seen guys go on the IL because of a reaction to a vaccine, close contact. We don't know. There's no time. He can come off the COVID IL tomorrow. So we don't really know. Issan Diaz was recalled in his place. We talked about how Brinson was with the team. He's just in the taxi squad. He has not been recalled. And Jordan Holloway is going to be the 27th man for the doubleheader today. I imagine he'll pitch in game 2.
I don't understand why they would call up Issan and not Lewis Brinson.
Yeah,
when they send down an outfielder, when you're down an outfielder, why not call up another outfielder? Why are you calling up Issan Diaz?
Yeah, I don't know.
You have Lewis Brinson with the team, who's been on fire in AAA.
Well, he's always on fire in AAA. Let's be clear. And Issan's been hitting pretty well in AAA too.
So does Chad Wallace, bro.
Yeah.
In that last
it's crazy.
In that last little bit before Lewis Brinson got hurt, he was playing really well, and then he got hurt and got sent down.
This is what it is. It's just they go down to AAA, and this is the life. This is the life of a quad A player. It's just the Marlins have a lot of guys that are just kind of between the AAA and MLB level, and this is what's happening with them. And so anyway, those are the moves prior to today's doubleheader. But Pete mentioned something coming off of this disappointing players discussion, and this is kind of where I was going to pivot to kind of start previewing the second half. And so one of the questions that I think is really important for the Marlins to answer in this second half is will a lockdown closer emerge? So I feel like we all kind of think that, the bullpen's had its up and downs. Overall, it's been pretty solid. But the reason that we say it's been so terrible is because they're the worst bullpen in the league in clutch situations. And so much of that has to do with the ninth inning. They're top 5 in blown saves. And so will a lockdown closer emerge? Pete, do you think that they say this is our guy for the second half and they find that guy?
Oh, boy, I hope so. I mean, I would love for it to be Bender. Clearly, the stuff is insane. The slight question marks there when we have seen him in some leverage spots, it has gone sideways. So, most of the bullpen's been good. Everyone out of the ninth has been okay. You get to the ninth, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. So I'd love it. The question we've got to answer is, listen, Bender is maybe one of the most valuable assets from a bullpen perspective. Is he still with the club in the second half? It's a question, the Marlins will have to answer because multiple teams will call them on Bender, no doubt. So,
Pete, we had this discussion, on the podcast we did together recently, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to that, go check it out, Fish Across the Pond. It was a dandy of a time. But anyway, we had the discussion where just a few years ago, I remember very clearly people wanting to trade Conley and Steckenrider and Bearclaw. And I mean, that was a lot different. I think that, Adam Conley had his history with the team, and all of a sudden he was having this resurgence. And, Bender obviously shows different stuff than those guys, but back then we were wanting, fans were wanting to trade those guys, and now a lot of fans want to hold on to Bender. So Isaac, I'm curious, is it just because the Marlins are in a different point? Are people fed up with wanting, and they want to keep Bender, or do you want to move Bender? What do you kind of see with that?
I mean, we all saw how the Bearclaw situation went. I think it was Joe Frisaro that said a Tristan McKenzie 1-for-1 swap was too much for us to give up. I think they're so fickle bullpen arms. Bender right now is phenomenal. He has an ERA way under 2, and so I think in this situation, if we are going to decide to sell, he's got to be one of the guys you throw out there and maybe get a top 5 prospect in someone's organization for. But yeah, unfortunately, but if we're in it, 100% keep him. He's making nothing. He's making no money. But yeah, unfortunately, if we are going to sell, you definitely got to add him to the list.
How can, my question is, we all kind of think that Bender is the lockdown closer option if you're going to get one. And, maybe if you fall out of it, you don't really need that lockdown closer. You can just kind of do it by committee.
Blyer.
But how are you going to get one without Bender? So Kevin, do you kind of think that the Marlins will find one in the second half? You think a guy emerges?
Yeah, they're going to have to start trying out some players there. I was only between 2 guys, Anthony Bender or Richard Blyer, since we talked about Blyer earlier in the show. He has the stuff to be a good closer. I mean, he doesn't pitch 2 long innings. He only pitches 1, and he's pretty inconsistent when pitching. But if I had to say a guy right now who I want, it's Anthony Bender. Only Bender. I want him there. He's the guy who's proven the most. But another name I would like to at least consider would be Blyer for sure. But I think Bender is the guy in that closing situation. And I think he could be proven to be the lockdown guy. And he's been the best, I think, in the clutch situations, even though he did give up a homer in his last save against the Dodgers. Was it the Dodgers or
Yeah.
It was the Dodgers, yeah. He gave up the homer, but, then the Marlins came in clutch in there, and they were able to win it off. So, it's okay. I mean, I think I think Bender's the guy.
I think he struck out 3 guys in that. I was at that game.
Was it Atlanta?
No, the Dodger game where he strikes a guy out, strikes another guy out, lets a home run, strikes a guy out.
Okay.
It's like what he does. So Isaac, you have a point I can tell, and then I'll come to you after.
I was gonna see it. Some guy we may see in the second half is Tommy Evil. I think Alex can tell us how he's doing. Someone that maybe we'll see in the closer. He has the personality. I don't know if he has the stuff like Bender does, which I know he doesn't. But maybe Alex can tell us a little bit. We'll see him soon.
Alex, I'll go to you in a second. Noah, you had a point.
This is not related to the conversation.
Okay, I'll come back to you then.
Breaking update. But okay.
Oh, breaking update about what?
The Phillies scratched Nick Maton and Ronald Torres is in the lineup tonight instead of Nick Maton.
Yeah, and I saw that JT isn't in the lineup. I guess they'll probably go with 2 catchers, catching each of the games. But they're pretty. When I was going to talk about how they're all healthy, the last couple times we've seen them, they haven't been healthy, and they're finally all healthy now. So, Alex, let me go to you. Tommy Eveld, talk to us, man. Touchdown, Tommy. It's been forever. What trade was he? Was he the Ziegler trade?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so.
I think so. Yeah, this is a while ago. You guys probably got that, but yeah, Tommy, I was going to bring it up. If I was going to bring up him and one more guy, which I'll get to, but yeah, he's 3 for 3 in save ops with the shrimp. Looks good. Why not, man? If they're out of it, give him a shot. Go high leverage, whatever it is. The other guy that I would like to see, I was going to say Tommy, as I said, but since Isaac said him, is George Guzman, and George Guzman just transferred back into the bullpen, thank God, because he's not a starter. He has no third pitch. I have no idea why the Marlins took this long to put him in the bullpen after all of his injuries, but he's finally pitching out of the bullpen. He pitched 2 innings last night and got the save on 3 strikeouts. So that's a guy for sure. Throws fire, man, like 97, 98, good slider. No third pitch, but man, as a limited look guy, 1 to 2 innings, if he has to go 2 innings, especially with all that injury problems, man, take it easy on that arm. Don't build him back into starting. Leave his ass in the bullpen and let him close or give him a shot at least. So, yeah, those 2 guys for sure. Good call out by Isaac on Tommy. And for me, George Guzman will be a guy I want to see.
Guzman, I've been saying for a long time with him, eventually, like I always said, okay, the Marlins are going to give him every shot that they can to be a starter because, he had some really good – he was on a good run in 2019 where he had some really good starts and he was going to do everything he could to be a starter. But I think a lot of us always knew that 100-mile-an-hour fastball and big wipeout slider was always going to be playing better in the pen than it was, out of the in the rotation. So I've always said that him and like Jordan Holloway, are some of these pitching prospects that are going to end up in the bullpen that could be really good. Like, he has elite closer stuff, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, wipeout slider. That is what you're looking for out of the bullpen. And Isaac, I see you kind of itching to say something here. What do you got?
Oh, well, you got to remember, we also said the same thing about Sandy Alcantara for a long time. I feel like
true.
That we have someone with somewhat of command issues and that has amazing stuff. We're always going to say Max Meyer too. Some people are already putting him as a closer position, which is like so premature. But yeah, another minor leaguer I wanted to see about Colton Hawk. I think he was pitching pretty well out of the bullpen. He maybe get a shot, later. He has like an under 3 ERA and striking out 33 in 29 innings. So that's another guy. They have some options. So like Bender becomes a little bit expendable if we're out of it.
And, you talk about Sandy, he got that third pitch, right? He brought that changeup along and that's been the difference. And the sinker, of course. So, he really throws 4 or 5 pitches. So, all right. The next thing that I want to go to is a topic that we have beaten into the ground. And today it kind of seems like it's basically hit a standstill. And, Craig Mish is reporting that the Marlins aren't sure. He's not sure that the Marlins want to offer Starling Marte 3 years. And to be honest, this is the first time where I've really said, all of a sudden, I think a lot of us kind of got caught up with this 900 OPS player that he was, for the first bit of the season. But now all of a sudden his OPS is just under 800. And he's been in a slump, and you're looking at a guy that is hold on, let me find this. His OPS, his career OPS is a lot closer to the 750, 790 that you're seeing, 790 that you're seeing now than the 950 that we saw at the beginning of the year. Let me find his career OPS. His career OPS is 791. Right now he's sitting at 793. So, obviously we've talked into the ground about how much it would say about the Marlins if they sign him or if they let him go. But 34-year-old Starling Marte, and this OPS kind of keeps coming down and down and down. I'm not sure I'm paying a 34, 35-year-old $12.5 million to put up a 750 OPS. And, I definitely I still want them to pay Marte. I still think that they should. I still think it's the best option for the team. And obviously, you want it. This is a statement that you need to make to the fans. But I kind of see where the Marlins are coming from. And so have we all kind of gotten to the point where we're basically starting to accept? Noah's shaking his head over there.
No.
Have any of us started to accept that he's most likely gone? Noah, let me go to you.
No, I will not accept it because this division is so close. It's very easy to get back into this division. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a homer, which I am. I will admit that. But this division is not that far apart, and we're about to play 4 games against the Phillies. We've got who do we play after
3
that?
games against the Nationals this week.
3 games against the Nationals. I think then we got the Padres.
But then you got 4 against
rough,
Padres, and it's like,
which is it's gonna be rough. But what did we just do to the Dodgers?
No, good point. Good point.
We just took 3 of 4 from the Dodgers. We're in every game.
Yeah. Well, Donnie,
I don't see a point in giving up yet or selling yet. It's too close.
Well, I think that, right now it's July 16th. Happy birthday to my dad, by the way. Dad, if you're listening.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. But 13 days away from when the Marlins really have to make a decision about this guy. And that's 2 weeks of playing time. That's 2 weeks for him to start looking a lot better than he has been. I mean, no extra base hits since June 23rd. That's a real slump that he's been in. It's been really brutal recently. He went from 950, 1,000 OPS down to 793 really quickly and hitting 273, whereas he was hitting well over 300 not very long ago. So, and with the division being up for grabs, this year, look, the truth is it's not going to happen, right? Like Donnie said, in the first half, they were in every game, like you mentioned, Noah, but they didn't win enough of those games. They just didn't do it. He liked the fact that they were in every game. He didn't like the fact that they didn't win enough of them. And that's just the fact of the matter. That's basically a perfect way to sum up this, the first half.
The time to change that.
But my thinking is, okay, maybe you're not going to get it this year, but how close is the division going to be next year? It's not like any team is going to get significantly better, unless somebody comes out of nowhere. The Nationals are a little down. I don't know if they're going to spend any big money in free agency. The Mets have all that money wrapped up in Lindor, so it's not like they're going to be able to have a lot of flexibility to make their team a lot better. The Phillies, the same with the Harper deal. Bohm hasn't grown into what we expected him to be. So it's like this division could be tight for years to come. And so I think the Marlins kind of have to look into the future. So Pete, we talked obviously about Marte on the podcast, that we just did. And I want to know, are you resorting to, they're going to move on from him?
Marte has to be traded. They have to trade him. And listen, that is going to really hurt us next year in particular. 2022 is really going to sting. But I don't think you can pay Marte a 3-4 year deal with the system that's come in and the outfielders are there and the age that Marte is at. We can't afford to do that. So we're going to move him. We'll get the best deal we can. He's a well sought after guy. They'll make a good deal, no doubt about it. And it'll hurt next year, no doubt. We do not have a center fielder at that level around right now. And it will hurt. But it's the right decision to do right now.
Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Don't even say it. No, I don't even say it.
Kick him off the
stream. Can we mute him? Yeah, Eli, can we mute him over in the corner over there? But we don't know what the free agent market is like. We don't know if the Marlins are going to be going after a free agent. We don't know if they have a center fielder in the plans that they think could be a holdover for 1 year. We've seen what they did with Duvall, but all of a sudden Duvall looks like a really good candidate to come back next year after the way that he's been playing so far. I don't know. I think at this point, the only thing to do is trade him, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I think I've gone to that point where it just might be best to trade him and sell, at least a couple pieces on this team. Marte, it seems that the Marlins really want to be cheap with Marte, and you got to pay the man his value. But then you mentioned the little slump he's on right now, so I think it makes sense to move Marte. And I do want to mention, I think they called up Issan because if I'm correct, Monte Harrison's on the roster, right? So I think it makes sense.
He's already here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's why they did.
Yeah, because he was on the roster before. When Duvall was out,
they called up Issan over Lewis Brinson. But yeah, it's time to sell Marte. Get the best deal possible.
So when Marte goes, this is where I'm going to go to Alex with this discussion. Imagine a prospect is going to take his place, and this is a discussion that I want to have about the second half. Is which prospects are we going to see? I think that's something that a lot of people are looking forward to in the second half. Is who are we going to see? So, Alex, who do you think we see in the outfield there? Blade's not ready. No. He's been good. He's been pretty good since June started. Like I looked at those numbers, and they look a lot prettier since June started than they do overall in the season. It was a really bad May for him, but where do they go?
Yeah, you won't see the big names because they're just not performing. I mean, Bleday is. I really don't want to put it all on the hitting development team, but the guy just looks lost. Just doesn't look good. All of his stuff's going off the end of the bat. I posted a video from last night. He's in a 3-1 count with the bases loaded and 2 outs. He gets a fastball up and he just weakly fouls it off. And that's not a one-time occurrence. I mean, he's doing that a lot, which sucks, but there's still tons of time for Bleday. I'm not in panic mode yet about JJ Bleday. It just sucks to see him struggling this much. Burdick's in a similar boat. The guys that you like to see are at lower levels. It's not a part of this conversation because you're not going to see them at the major league level this year. Guys like Conine, who's ripping the cover off the baseball. Meisner's doing well. But you're not going to see those guys. And then beyond that, you're not going to see those guys especially. So who do you see if they get rid of Marte? Honestly, and Pete will probably like this, it will be a steady dose of Monte Harrison and Lewis Brinson is the two guys that you would see the most. Sick. And I pray to God, I pray to God that somehow Brian Miller gets his chance to come up and play baseball with the Marlins because that guy deserves it. He's a simplistic hitter. I don't understand, and I'm not going to say the other name because we went to this in other shows about who he could replace right now. So I won't say that name because we don't want to beat that horse. But it would be Brinson and Harrison on their last shots, both of them. Yeah, on their last shots. And then hopefully Brian Miller. And to answer the question on JD Orr, he's doing well in AAA right now as well. Yeah, but I want to see him get a little longer leash. But he is an older guy too. He's 25, 26 years old. Another low risk guy that he's that twitchy bat with really great speed. So maybe that's a good call out on maybe a third guy. But yeah, mostly you would see Harrison, Brinson, and hopefully Brian Miller.
With Orr, I don't know how much he's going to impact baseball. But he's going to hit for average. And I think, he could be a pretty nice piece off a bench come a few years from now. But
same college as Peyton Burdick, by the way, and our new
Wright State
Strand, the arm that we just got.
So they love this Wright State. They love this Wright State.
They like it Wright State, man.
It's funny. But anyway, and I see a question in the chat. Yes, JD Orr was brought up to AA, and he's been hitting like crazy since he's been up there. And in return, Victor Mesa was demoted to high A, which that's a tough one. That's brutal. Yeah. Peter, we talked about this. Eddie Cabrera got to be here at some point this year, right?
No doubt about it. Eddie, it can only be a few weeks, right? I mean, literally must be a couple of starts in AAA. If he looks good, if he's healthy, it's going to be Eddie's season, no doubt about it for me. There's no reason not to. Trevor's going to be, they're starting to maybe phase him out, look after him. You'd like to see what Eddie's got, no doubt. So, yeah, I'm excited to see it. And going back to the biggest disappointment piece, we got into Bass quick, which was true. The other biggest disappointment has to be that we didn't see Sixto at all this year. And that is a big disappointment for the Marlins, no doubt.
I just want to say hi to Craig Mish, who's hanging out in the chat here. Just an unbelievable a viewer that I never thought we would see in here. Craig Mish. Peter, you must have the poll to get Mish in here. So that clout could only be brought along by our favorite British friend. But
he's here for Brinson hype train, I think.
We're actually 10 minutes. No,
he's here on the Mags hype train.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. But we're actually 10 minutes away all of a sudden from this series starting. And I mean, that flew by. We had so much to talk about today. But let's take a look at what's coming up. So today, the Marlins announced the rotation that will be in order out of the break. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Today, obviously, you're going to see Sandy in Game 1. He is the starter for Game 1. Ross Detweiler is going to open up Game 2 with probably a little sprinkle of Jordan Holloway in there. Game 3 is going to be Zach Thompson. That'll be tomorrow. Pablo will pitch on Sunday, so they give him that little extra day. Donnie said he thought he was lined up for Game 3 before the break, but he's going to be Game 4. And then Trevor is going to pitch on Monday, the first game of the Nationals series. And since we're on pitching, let's take a look at the pitching matchups as we head to Philly. And Aaron Nola in this series. So Sandy against Matt Moore, Detweiler is going to be going up against Zach Eflin. Thompson is going to be going up against Vince Velasquez, who everybody says that the Marlins raked off Vince Velasquez. I am still yet to see evidence of this because he has killed the Marlins, shoved against them a couple times this year. And then game 4, you're going to be seeing Zach Wheeler. So a 4-game series with the Phillies here, who are 44-44. They had a 500 first half. They're 3.5 back of the Mets for the division lead, and they're second in the NL East. And obviously, if you want to get to the playoffs out of the National League East or the National League Central, you're going to have to win your division because the 3 teams in the NL West are going to take up those 2 wild card spots. So I'm curious, doubleheader to start. You guys like the doubleheader? I asked Donnie today, do you want to see scheduled doubleheaders come back? He said no. I've always kind of been a fan of the doubleheader. I think more baseball is great, but I understand what it does to, bullpens and stuff. But obviously the Marlins kind of get a doubleheader in a really good spot here where they haven't played in a long time, so it's a lot easier to handle the workload that'll be going to the bullpen. But for you, Pete, I know you like the UK-friendly games, even though we said on the podcast the other day that they haven't been kind to you. But do you kind of like doubleheaders?
I've loved the doubleheaders, and the record's been great too. So I'm not sure we're going to see the 7-inning doubleheaders again next year. That seems like that's going out, but listen, I'm all for early starts in baseball, no doubt about it. I'm pro that, and I like the way we match up actually this series. Pablo on a Sunday, UK friendly against Zach Wheeler. Boy, oh boy, that is going to be a real tough one.
Yeah, it's delicious.
The other 3, could see the Marlins taking all 3, and it'll be a real tough one on Sunday. But I can see us piling into the Phils. The record's good. I don't rate the Phils. I don't rate the starters either. We're going to see. So let's line them up.
I don't rate bringing the soccer terminology into baseball. I absolutely love it. I don't know how many people would get that one. No, did you just go into 8K over there? No, is that the 8K camera over there?
So my computer just decided to quit on me. I've lost my second screen and the camera over there. So now you're seeing what the rest of my room looks like. You can see all
nice hat collection you got going on over there.
I think this might actually be the better camera.
It looks really good. No, do you like double headers?
So I like it when they're back to back. When it's a single admission, if it's a single admission doubleheader, 7 innings, I'm okay with that. If you're doing it where it's 7 innings at a 1:00 game and 7 innings at a 7:00 game, and people who paid for a 9-inning game are only getting 7 innings, I'm sorry, that's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I do love that it helps save the bullpens, it helps save the pitchers. But if you're gonna do it where it's a day night, then you got to do 9 innings. It's not fair to the fans.
Honestly, I would kind of love if they went back to. I like the idea of a scheduled doubleheader. Yeah. I think it's awesome. Like once a month, once every. And the other thing is, when it's I don't get why they wouldn't keep 7-inning doubleheaders, because 9-inning doubleheaders are so rough on the bodies and on the pens that it doesn't make sense to not keep it 7 innings, because it's a lot less harsh. So
together, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree, because the split admission thing, that people are running into is ridiculous. But anyway, 5 minutes, 6 minutes until first pitch. So it's prediction time. Let's go around the room. Kevin, this is your favorite part, so I'm going to start with you. 4 games for the Marlins and Phils. What do you got?
All right, Marlins 100% win tonight. I think they'll win both doubleheader games. I think they lose the Vince Velasquez start because somehow he's been killing us. And then I think they beat Wheeler out with Pablo on the last game of the series. So we take 3 out of 4.
Alex, your thoughts on where the Marlins go this series?
Yeah, I mean, they do well against Eflin, but then you got to look at who we have starting. Of course, we're starting Ross Detweiler, so see how long he could go, and then you get to the pen, which has been pretty good. Yeah, I think tonight could go either way, but the Marlins do pretty well, or at least in the first game, could go either way. Beyond that, they missed Wheeler the last 2 Phillies series, I think, but they get him in this series, so that one could be tough. Thompson and Velasquez, I mean, yeah, Velasquez is a guy that has just been, I mean, he started off really, really crappy, but then his last couple starts have been pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. At least what we've seen from him against the Marlins has been pretty good. So that one, yeah, see if Thompson can keep it going. And yeah, then you get Wheeler. So I would probably say they get 2 of 4 and split it with the Phillies, just because there's a lot of uncertainties in this series with the doubleheader. So I'll go safe. I'll say 2 of 4, but it could be 3 of 4. But yeah, I'll say 2 of 4.
Isaac.
I'm going to go with Alex on that one. I think 2 of 4. I think they win both these games today. And Velasquez, for some reason, we raked him in 2019, just demolished him. Issan Diaz took him deep for shit's sake. And then for now with this year, we just can't hit him. So you know what? Wheeler's going to shove. Velasquez is going to shove. We're going to win these 2 games. And unfortunately, at the end of this series, when we're still 11 games under 500, post Phillies series, that'll be the nail in the coffin. You'll start seeing some nice juicy rumors. And unfortunately, that's the way I see it going.
Noah, your prediction for this series?
Sweep.
Okay.
Damn.
Sweep.
Love the homerism.
No,
why not?
No, I'm throwing it out there. Sweep. I'll do it.
Peter, what do you got?
This is so tough. This is so tough.
4-game series are hard. You never. I just can never predict that either team is going to sweep or win 3 of 4 in a 4-game series. It's tough.
Phillies are so good at home too. That's the other thing. They've been really, really good at home. I just can't see Sandy losing this game today. Like the first game, I just can't see us losing that one. So we're getting 1. I wouldn't be shocked if we lose the next 3, and then we just go full blown. None of this hope and glory. The nail was in the coffin weeks ago. Let's just get into these trades and get it done, and let's just get the ball rolling. So 1 and 3, but it wouldn't shock me if the Marlins sweep them 4-0. Why not?
That would be very England of the Marlins. Just get it right out of the way, get the pain over with immediately.
Yeah, no need for penalties.
And no need for penalties. Anyway, guys, that was a great show. A lot of fun, a lot of things we covered. 2 games tonight, game on Saturday, game on Sunday. 4-game series with the Phillies to get the second half started. We'll be back on Monday for the preview of the Nationals and Marlins as the Marlins head down I-95 to Washington, D.C. before coming home to face 4 with the Padres. I don't think we'll be able to get Peter on next time, but hopefully soon enough. We've got a nice UK-friendly preview so we can get Peter back on. It was a pleasure to have you, my friend. For Noah, for Isaac, for Alex, for Kevin, for Peter, go listen to Fish Across the Pond with me. For Eli on the 1s and 2s, I'm Ethan Medowski. Enjoy the series and go fish.
Y'all ready?
It's still live.